Here to put a bow on another college football Saturday, a couple of the top targets in the game, CBS Sports football analyst Bryant McFadden and Barrett Sallee. Barrett, I'm going to start with you here in our SEC game of the week on CBS. Mac Jones and Alabama, an impressive effort against the Aggies. We're going to get to Clemson in just a bit here, but from what you saw out of Bama, is there a case for a ship to top the polls come Sunday?
Yeah, I think there's a case. I personally wouldn't do it. I would keep Clemson atop the poll. But if someone wants to say that, you know what, Alabama's the #1 team in the nation, I'm totally for that. I can understand that argument, and there can be a lot of bullet points after what we saw against Texas A&M to make that case. Look, this team is on a different level than everybody else in the SEC, and when you watch Alabama play, you can see from a speed, size perspective, they are comparable with Clemson, and there's a big drop-off after that. Look, Mac Jones, I was wrong about Mac Jones. I thought he was a game manager. The dude is a difference maker. We've seen that through 2 games. Look at that throw to Devontae Smith. Great catch, obviously keeping his foot in, but man, that ball was put in a place where only Devontae Smith could get it. So Mac Jones, absolutely a difference maker. And then you saw John Mitchie step up. He's the #3 receiver now that he's had his breakout game. Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith are looking at him saying, oh yeah, dude, that's right. We're getting one-on-one coverage moving forward. So yeah, this Alabama team, look, I would still, and I'm still going to put Clemson #1. Did I think about putting Alabama #1 instead? Absolutely, and I would have no problem if anybody else did.
Yeah, for a second consecutive year, everybody eats in that wide receiver room. Got to be exciting to run out there next to those fellas and get it done. A bunch of draft picks is what we're looking at. Elsewhere, Georgia did make quick work of Auburn. Highly anticipated matchup here, B-Mac. The Dogs defense again proving that they're one of the best in the country right now. Auburn was kind of the in vogue pick here heading into this one, but Georgia proved otherwise. What impressed you most about Kirby Smart's team on Saturday, B-Mac?
Stetson Bennett making his first official start in 2020 and going into this ball game when we all heard that Stetson Bennett was going to start. I felt like they would have to win this ball game with their defense, right? Because of the unknown with Bennett playing in the SEC, playing against Auburn, an outstanding defense at home, first official start. I felt like it would take some time for him to really get comfortable and be able to orchestrate the offense the right way. But oh, was I wrong. Stetson Bennett came out and balled from start to finish. He made big time plays in the first quarter, making things happen with his legs, getting out of the pocket, being able to hit the open pass catcher. And look at his numbers. They were 9 of 14 on third down opportunities. And I was so surprised about how cool and calm he was throughout the entire ball game. And the most important stat for me, outside of that 9 for 14 on third down, 0 interceptions, 0 turnovers come from Stetson Bennett. That's winning football, especially when you have a defense like UGA. That defense will always have you in position to win ball games, especially in SEC play. But when you're playing flawless football, smart football offensively, no question you would be in a better, you will have a better outcome. It doesn't even matter who you're playing against, basically, with that defense. So for me, that was the most important part. That was the biggest thing that I took away from this ball game. I was so impressed with Stetson Bennett.
Yeah, Coach Smart might have a decision now, JT Daniels, as they work him into the fold, but Bennett's looking strong. Barrett, we do have to talk about the other sideline. I'm sorry to talk about your Auburn Tigers this way, but we throw it to you, an alum here, a no-show by Bo Nix and the Tigers offense. Is this the type of loss that could slide them out of the top 10? What are you seeing out of your team here?
Yeah, definitely out of the top 10. I was disappointed, look, because when Gus Malzahn hired Chad Morris, he was supposed to take control of the offense. He was supposed to incorporate more over-the-middle passing, a more dynamic passing attack, and it just didn't happen. And Bo Nix was bad. The offensive line was worse. That poor kid was running for his life all afternoon and all night. And look, the offensive scheme is terrible. I think a lot of that falls on Gus Malzahn, not Chad Morris, because Gus Malzahn meddles way too much in the offense. But the offense ain't going to be great with that offensive line, no matter who's calling the plays. So to me, it was very disappointing. It shows that I think Auburn's issues along really both lines of scrimmage, but specifically the offensive line, had not been solved, were not solved, that I don't think can be solved. even if it was a normal offseason. So it was very disappointing, that offense. And look, I tweeted out a picture. My sister-in-law sent me a picture from the game. I want you to check out this Georgia fan wearing the cone of shame. Look, that's masked up. That's right. But the cone of shame should not be worn by that Georgia fan. It should be worn by Gus Malzahn, because that was a shameful performance.
Seeking secondary care at the veterinarian's office, apparently. The current top team in the land, Clemson, did take on Virginia in a rematch of last year's ACC title game. The result looked a little bit like last year's ACC title game. The domination, maybe not to that extent, but a convincing win no less here, BMAC.
No question. I think the most important thing for Clemson, just go out, take care of your business, and get through this ball game healthy, right? And they were able to achieve those feats. Trevor Lawrence, real nice, efficient ball game, roughly over 300 yards, 3 passing TDs. We know he's a star. I love Travis Etienne, and these two guys clearly will have to have a huge impact for potentially the game of the year in the ACC, right? I know it's early October, but based on what Miami has been able to do, you know, opening a lot of eyes and potentially willing to challenge Clemson for the ACC crown. This is a huge, huge ball game next week, and I thought maybe we may see Clemson overlook Virginia getting ready for the Hurricanes, but they came out and took care of their business. I know when you talk about the gambling side, you know, that's one thing, but just outright winning the ball game was huge for Clemson. And like I said, getting out of this ball game healthy was huge for them as well. Now you get a chance to get ready for the Hurricanes.
Business as usual. Another action-packed Saturday with BMAC and Barrett. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
For more from BMAC, you got to download and subscribe the newest podcast on the CBS family of podcasts. It's All Things Covered. BMAC, Patrick Peterson breaking it all down, and some awesome guests as well. They've had the likes of Juju Smith-Schuster. They've had Tyrann Mathieu. We're only a couple of episode deeps, and some of the biggest names in the game are joining BMAC and P2 on the All Things Covered podcast. Time now to take a look at some top 25 dealings, see how some big name programs fared. Clemson, no problem with Virginia in an ACC championship rematch. Alabama shows that they could be #1 at some point this season. Georgia looked impressive in that win. Texas not looking so good, upset by unranked TCU. Yet another loss by Texas to an unranked opponent. UCF also gets upset this time by Tulsa. UNC escapes a scare against Boston College. Mississippi State loses to unranked Arkansas after a big opening week win over LSU, and Oklahoma suffering their second straight loss as well. Joining us now to break down all the movers and shakers, CBS Sports' Jerry Palm. JP, we saw some top 10 teams shine on Saturday, others not so much. When we wake up on Monday or even perhaps on Sunday here, what's going to be the biggest movement?
Well, the biggest movement is going to be Texas dropping, UCF dropping after the upset losses today, but also Mississippi State. You know, if you'd have said before the season Mississippi State was going to be 1-1 after their first 2 games, nobody probably would have argued with you. But leave it to Mike Leach to do the expected in an unexpected way, giving Arkansas their first win in 20 SEC games or breaking a 20-game losing streak. That's the Mike Leach experience. So Mississippi State fans better get used to that roller coaster. But nobody's really going to be moving up much this week. The top 4, Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, pretty much all the same. Auburn may slide a little bit after loss to Georgia, not because of the loss, but because it wasn't very competitive.
Jerry, got to follow here on 1 and 2 because Clemson, they get the win. They look impressive. Alabama gets the win. I don't know how you weigh the impressiveness of those 2 wins or the weight of their opponents on Saturday. But does Alabama have a case now at 2-0 and looking strong as they usually do through 2 weeks here? Do they have a case to be #1 at some point soon?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe as they get deeper into the SEC schedule, perhaps we'll have to see. Because, you know, all we have for the committee this year is eye test, right? So week to week, eye test could matter. I don't think anything happened this week to change anybody's mind, and we're not going to hear from the committee for quite a while still. But yeah, the eye test is all that these teams are going to be measured on this year. So, you know, style points are going to matter more than they ever do. And what you've talked about, you could see some week to week movement based on style points and how dominant a team is in a given week.
Always perfect 10s on style points from our guy, JP. Thank you, Jerry Palm.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.